The NHL is terrified of this as a fan favorite is poised to have a breakout season for the St. Louis Blues heading into next season. But not only that, with the Blues having a bright future, these key prospects are standing out among the league's best, and this changes everything for the Blues for the future. We're going to break down all this, including this one player that's going to have a huge impact on the team going into next season, and two key prospects that Blues fans are going to want to hear about. We're going to break down all that and more later on this episode. Before we get into that, if you're part of the 57.4% watching this and you haven't hit the sub button yet, we're trying to reach our goal of 4,000 subscribers. So go down and hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get this number down to 50%. So even if 100 of you hit it, it would be much appreciated. But that, Darius, let's just go straight into the first topic. And before we get into this key player, we're going to go through this article. And we did a full video on this already, ranking the top prospects on the St. Louis Blues. But we're going to continue in on the players. Now, going in, we do get some quotes from Stephen Ellis, and this whole article will be linked down below. An awesome read, and he said he has good cap control, and I'm guessing he meant gap, plays with a bunch of skill, and has confidence starting to shine through during the OHL playoffs, despite not having much offense to show for it. And of course, that goes into the first prospect we're going to cover today in Adam Jiricek. Now, his brother, David Jiricek, playing with the Minnesota Wild, is already starting to show very good signs. So even if Adam comes in and plays at half that rate, what is your thoughts on his potential on this team?
There are some people that actually believe the younger brother here, Adam, is better than David Jiricek. So there's that. And he skates very well with the puck. He's playing with a lot of confidence, like Steven alluded to. Take a shot, everyone. In the OHL playoffs last year with the Brantford Bulldogs, who had a really good season, and he had a really good season for them as well. And I always, look at playoff points and playoff performances in these junior leagues as the real indicator of how a player is playing, because in the regular season in the OHL, we've seen players that have gone on to the NHL and maybe not had an impact, and they were like almost 2 points a game players or all these things, right? Half a point a game player. They had some decent stats, right? Doesn't always translate. But I look at the playoff games, and not necessarily just the points, but of course you can look at the points as an indicator as well. But how much confidence they're playing with? Are they skating with the puck well? How's their gap control, especially in the playoffs? And do they play physically as well? So by all indicators, this is a guy that I think, his skill set is going to translate to the pro level. That's something we've been talking about, and I've been talking a lot about on the channel as well. It's like, how does it translate to the pro level, and can some of these prospects elevate their game and continue to play their game with confidence? And I think that Adam is another one, Jiricek, who will be able to do that when he eventually makes that jump. But great, season to show for it in the OHL. And I think he's just going to continue to gain that confidence. And one thing that a lot of people don't talk about either is, European leagues versus college versus like the OHL and the CHL. The CHL is more like, in terms of schedule and maybe skill to a degree, the NHL, right? Because you're playing more often, and with the schedule and everything like that, and you play a lot more games. So he's getting acclimated to that, and I think that it's going to translate to the pro level.
And the big thing is we've seen a bit of an injury-riddled season for him in the OHL, so getting a full season fully healthy, it's going to be awesome to see how he progresses on the defensive end, but continues to bring the offensive power, which might not show up on the score sheet at the moment, but the way he moves with the puck is incredible. But it kind of gets straight into the second prospect, where it is a bit of a polar opposite, where we do have, from the quote as well from Stephen Ellis, he moves well, can play against any line you throw him at, he really makes any costly mistakes. Lindstein isn't flashy, but he's smart, calculated in his decision making. Now going into this, more of a shutdown defenseman, not as big as Jiricek, who is 6'3", but Lindstein steps in at 6 foot, 192 pounds, and like you said, playing in the Swedish league, it is a big difference. It's a bigger ice. It's harder to play against. You're playing against grown men, ex-NHL players that played pro for most of their life. So the numbers are going to be skewed a tiny bit, but getting this development at this age is really going to accelerate him. And what is your thoughts on how Lindstein has been playing and looking like a shutdown defenseman for the Blues of the future?
He's very impressive, and you alluded to it there that, he's playing on a bigger ice surface and he's still able to shut guys down. His gap control is really good. So I think he's going to be a great shutdown defender in the NHL. There's a lot of insiders, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but I remember there were some insiders and people comparing him to Victor Hedman and Nick Lidstrom, which again, just a comparison. He's not those players yet, of course, but if you're getting comparisons in terms of your style of play stylistically, then, I think that's great company. Obviously, those are great, two great names in the game and Stanley Cup champions. So I feel like, as he comes over to North America, I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do with that. Obviously, because, the surface changes, the game changes a little bit. Is he going to be able to, shut guys down in the same way? I am curious about that, but still just 20 years old. I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do because this is another one that not a lot of people are talking about. I think he's in the back of Blues fans' minds, of course, but because he's not too flashy in terms of, going end to end, scoring a goal or anything like that. Maybe Adam Jiricek, for example, is more, flashy in terms of offensive output. But when you look at a guy like him, obviously, I think there's a lot to like moving forward because the Blues, as guys like Cam Fowler get older, Colton Parayko get older, guys like this are going to have to start, making an impact coming into the lineup. And if you know that you have a shutdown defenseman with, at the same time, a plethora of other prospects who are offensive defensemen, that's a good mix heading into the future.
And I think the biggest thing is it's going to be a bit of a change of scenery once he does make it to North America. But getting someone in, like you said, a shutdown defenseman that can join this Blues team, even as a third pairing defenseman, if that is the ceiling that he hits, you're still getting in a very young player that is poised, got good control, and is a shutdown defenseman with Blues fans. So we're going to cover so many more prospects. But who's your favorite prospects within the system? Is this someone we already spoke about? Is this someone that we haven't touched on yet? Go down and let us know down below. But we'll get straight into the second topic, where there is one key Blues player that's set to make a big jump next year, and obviously that goes straight into Nathan Walker. Now listen, a fan favorite, 5'9". The big thing with Nathan Walker is we're going to see an increased ice time coming in. Boduk got traded in the trade for Logan Mailloux, playing 73 games last year, 16 points, putting up 281 hits. Darius, with this, do you think Nathan Walker has the chance? We know Monty loves him. He wants to play him. Could you see him being a staple on that third line wing if all things go accounted for? And maybe he even sets a career high of 15 or more goals.
Absolutely. I think that he is going to be relied upon to take on a bigger role this season. I feel like he should be in the lineup like last season more often than not. To me, a guy like Matthew Joseph, like, we'll see what he's able to do in training camp, but he makes almost $3 million. And I think, to me, Nathan Walker, the way that he plays and what he can bring to a lineup, he should probably be in the lineup over a guy like Joseph, especially because Nathan Walker makes league minimum versus $3 million. And I know that the Blues are going to get a lot of cap relief because they're right up against it right now. They can't even sign a league minimum contract if they wanted to. But obviously they're going to get some relief once the season starts with the LTIR room from Torrey Krug's contract. But if you have to free up some space, I think it's Joseph on the way out, and then a guy like Walker is going to take either that spot or maybe playing on the third line like you alluded to. I do think that he can put up a career high this season. Yes, he's getting older, but I feel like, he's gotten comfortable. He has a bit of a spot. He knows his role on this team. Top 10 in hits in the NHL last year. I mean, and he's 5'9", right? Like, he's not 6'3", 6'5", or anything like that. 5'9", throws his body around, difference maker, fan favorite. So I think that this guy needs a bigger opportunity this year. Of course, you have to earn it just like anyone else. So I'm excited to see what he does in training camp. But we've seen everyone's comments down below. This is clearly a fan favorite player. I want to see what he's able to do this season. I hope they give him maybe not a bigger role, but just more of an opportunity because, he lays his body on the line for this team. And you need guys like that in the lineup. You can't just have, entire team full of scorers or young guys in the bottom of your lineup. You need guys who play a role like this. Not afraid to block shots, not afraid to throw the body around. That's what matters in the playoffs, right? So I like the direction that this team is going heading into next year too, and I want to see what Walker does next season.
And I mean, the construction of the team is going to be very interesting how Monty deploys it. We're seeing new face, Bukestad joining, Suter joining. There's key players coming back. This is going to be a very interesting year, and training camp's going to be big. Does Carbonneau make the lineup? Does Dvorsky get promoted from Springfield? There's so much to look at. But fans, what is your thoughts on all this? What is your thoughts on Nathan Walker, these prospects? Let us know down in the comments. And speaking of comments, we'll get into everyone's favorite topic, which is comment today, coming from Thomas Flacker. And he said, you guys do a great job. Keep the videos coming. You compliment each other well. I love your work. And listen, it's because I'm loud and you're not so loud, dearest. But the big thing is we love you guys so so much. Doing this content for you doesn't even feel like we're putting in work. It's just awesome to talk to you guys about the St. Louis Blues. And if you want to be featured on Comment Today, go down and leave a comment on what you want us to talk about. Even if you wanted to go down and tell us how much you hate us, do that down below. We love reading all the comments, but that'd be it for this episode. I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host, Darius, and take care, Blues fans.